Mi dica, signora.
Has no one called?
No, signora.
I think we'll go to Jersey. We can stay with Arthur at Portland.
Santo Jersey?
Well, don't look so surprised. You'd like a change, wouldn't you?
Oh,
For a little while.
Will Mr. Langtry come
No,
with
no,
us?
no. He will hardly return from Southampton. Just you and I. Come along. We better decide what to take. Oh, see who that is.
Are you at home?
Yes,
signora?
yes. Yes, unless...
Yes, she will be very pleased to see you. Signora, Mr. Oscar Wilde and Mr. Frank Miles.
Lily, my dear.
Oscar. And Frank. Oh, I'm delighted to see you.
Are we intruding?
No, no, of course not.
We were passing. It occurred to me I'd not seen you since yesterday afternoon, and to be so long out of the company of the woman that I adore above all others.
I think you've come to cheer me up.
Do you need cheering up?
My dear Oscar, haven't you heard? I'm in disgrace after last night of Ferdy de Rothschild.
Well, my anger at not having heard is only surpassed by my curiosity. Go on.
It was very silly, a fancy dress affair. Quite by chance, I went as Pierrette, and Bertie, His Royal Highness, arrived in a Pierrot costume.
Oh, dear.
Well, he wasn't very pleased, and because of something he said, I don't know, I suddenly picked up a chunk of ice and dropped it down inside his collar.
Yes, yes, then what happened?
He stared at me for what seemed like rather a long time, then he stalked out. Alex went with him, of course, and, well, the party rather broke up.
A charming incident. I wish I'd been there. But a disgrace, surely not. The prince will have forgotten all about it by this morning.
Apparently not. When I rode in the park, I was ignored, and so far there have been 8 or 9 notes cancelling invitations to dinner. 2 arrived just before you came.
Ah, the Marlborough House set. God rot them.
Oh, well, I don't mind. I'm going to Jersey to see my family.
Oh, no, you're not. Forgive me, my dear, but you're not going to Jersey, or anywhere else for that matter. You're staying in London. We need you.
Thank you, Oscar. But if I'm to be ostracized by society, there's really no point in my staying.
My dear, when I said we need you, I was not speaking in general terms. Come along, Frank. Say your piece.
Millet wants you.
Such a talkative lad. I think he prefers to contemplate you in silence. Now, you know the freaks. They've just moved into a new house in the Cromwell Road. They're having a ball. They are to be tableaux vivants. Millet's been asked to arrange them. The pièce de résistance is to be based upon his painting, Effie Dean's. You are to be Effie.
Yes, that's it, Mrs. Langtry. Now head just a little to the left. Good, good. And Mr. If you just put your hand on her arm, so. Look at her, my dear fellow, look at her.
Careful,
Now,
careful,
just...
you'll fall.
Keep still for a minute. Yes, I think we have it. Well, now you can relax if you like, but remember those positions, I beg of you. What do you think, Mrs. Cornwallis West?
Lovely. Are you all right? Yes, I think so. A bit stiff. Oh, listen, I think I can hear them coming.
The curtains, quickly, draw the curtains.
Is he here? Oh, I shouldn't think so. He's been invited, of course, but, well, I haven't seen him since that famous night.
What's all this about a tableau, Charlie?
I don't know, my dear fellow. Some sort of theatrical do. Mrs. Langtry's to appear, I believe.
That's why his nibs is here.
Of course.
And you're off to Ireland next week.
Yes, Louis, I have property there. I rent most of it to tenant farmers. I go from time to time. Keep an eye on things, you know.
Everything ready?
Yes, I think so.
You know HRH has arrived.
Oh, yes, he was expected.
Invited, but not expected, I think.
But he is here, you said?
He approaches. He is nigh.
Good evening. Langtry, good evening. You have returned from your fishing holiday. Did you have good sport?
Excellent, thank you, sir.
I understand your wife is to appear in some sort of tableau.
Yes, I believe so, sir.
It is already, Your Royal Highness. If you would care to come this way, Mr. Millet has arranged everything.
I think our friend Freak is trying to tell you something.
Oh, yes, thank you. Your Royal Highness, my lords, ladies and gentlemen. This tableau is a representation of a painting of mine based on an incident from Sir Walter Scott's book, The Heart of Midlothian. It is called Effie Dean's and shows a young maid meeting with an outlaw in the Scottish glen.
I hope he isn't going to make a speech about it.
Let's get the curtains drawn and have a look at Mrs. Langtry, eh?
And so, by kind permission of Mr. and Mrs. Freak, I present to you Effie Dean's.
Splendid, my dear fellow, splendid.
Oh, there are more, Your Royal Highness.
Yes. But first I should like to congratulate Mrs. Langtry.
I will bring her to Your Royal Highness at once.
Is that all you think?
Hope so. I can do with some dinner.
Mrs. Langtry looked fine, I thought.
Yes. Evidently HRH thought so too.
May I congratulate you, Mrs. Langtry?
Your Royal Highness.
A most beautiful picture. I think the artist was particularly fortunate in his model.
Well, my dear fellow, you've achieved more than you know tonight. Our Lillie is in bloom again.
How am I expected to pay? With what? I've told you time and time again. Things at the moment are very difficult. The trouble's in Ireland. No rents coming in.
I thought you were going to Ireland to sort it out.
I am. But
I
just
see.
at the
so
moment...
what do you want me to do?
Well, if you could be a little less extravagant. I know you have to have new gowns.
I get most of my dresses a little more than cost price.
Yes, but even so.
Would you have me go about in the same dress night after night as I did when we first came to London?
Of course not.
Well, then.
I suppose it's no use asking you to come to Ireland with me.
I can't.
You might enjoy it. I'd be glad of your company.
No.
Please?
You know your family doesn't approve of me. It would only be embarrassed.
That's not the real reason.
Thought for a moment that fellow freak was going to fall flat on his face.
He was trying so hard to please you.
I know. Here's Fritz and young Louis. It's Louis of Battenberg, my dear, staying with us at Marlborough House. Fine-looking fellow, eh?
Is he? I didn't notice.
So that's the lady the whole of London's talking about.
That's Mrs. Langtry.
She's certainly very lovely.
Yes.
He knows how to pick 'em. I'll say that for your uncle.
Come on, Fritz. I'll race you to the end of the row.
Ah, Fry.
What about the Langtry story? Do we put it in?
Is it set up?
No. You've got the copy.
Oh, yes.
Afraid they'll sue.
Listen. A petition has been filed in the divorce court by Mr. Edward Langtry. His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, and two other gentlemen whose names we have not been able to learn, are mentioned as co-respondents. We are told the poor husband is almost frantic. Damn this country, he says. Nothing belongs to a fellow here. Even his wife is everybody's property.
It's a bit risky, isn't it? Mentioning the prince.
Well, it will boost sales.
And if they sue?
I don't think they'll do that. They'll be too frightened of what else might come out.
Well, they don't mind what they do that long, as long as it doesn't get into the newspapers.
Read all about it. Mrs. Langtry and marriage scandal. Tank talk is full particulars. Read all about it. Royalty cited in society's involved.
Oh, dear, not again.
I'm afraid so.
Well, what do they say this time?
Shall I read it to you?
Yes. Oh, damn. What? I wonder if Bertie's seen it.
Oh, well, I sure to have told him if he hasn't.
You know how he hates this sort of thing. Well, read it to me.
The Langtry divorce case, further particulars. No attempt has been made to contradict the statement published in these columns last week. I am informed that the Langtry divorce case will be one of the first to be tried when the court reopens in November. It has been finally decided to try the case in camera, so scandalmongers will be deprived of a fine opportunity.
That's rich coming from town talk.
Well, there's more. Shall I go on?
Yes, might as well hear all of it.
Mrs. Langtry has, I understand, filed an answer denying adultery, and as far as I can learn, the petitioner will find it exceedingly difficult to make good his case. Of course, there will be a great outcry against the case being tried privately, and I don't see why anybody need be dissatisfied, especially as the details are not likely to be at all creditable to us as a nation.
Just wait till I get my hands on him. What did you say his name was?
Rosenberg.
Oh, where did he get such a story?
Edward hasn't seen it?
No, not that I know of. He returns from Ireland today.
There's also a nasty little piece about me. Apparently, I have 2 studios behind the house and spend my time dashing from one to the other in order to satisfy an insatiable demand for photographs.
Oh, Patsy, it's a rather lovely picture.
Yeah, well, that bit's all right, but then the dreadful man goes on to say that I charge commission and drive about the shops collecting my fees like some dreary rent collector.
Has William seen that?
Yes, my beloved husband is very, very angry. I left him stamping about the drawing room, making noises about suing for libel.
You know, I sometimes wish Edward would divorce me.
Oh, Lily, what are you saying? It would ruin everything.
Oh, I know it's impossible, but it would be so much more honest. I hate all this lying and pretending.
My dear girl, you're talking like a lunatic. Would you destroy the whole fabric of society?
Nothing.
Nothing? But why? The rents are due to you, aren't they? Overdue.
You don't know what it's like out there.
But they can be made to pay surely by law.
Law? There is no law in Ireland. It's war. Undeclared war. The Fenians are burning houses, maiming cattle. Any farmer whose landlord is English.
But what do they want?
Oh, I don't know. Independence. Home rule for Ireland. My tenants are desperate. It's a question of survival. There's no money to pay the rents.
And you believe that?
Well, of course I do.
They're pulling
I've seen
the
it.
wool over your eyes, Edward. I know the Irish. They're probably restocking their pigsties at your expense.
I don't think so.
At any rate, you've returned empty-handed.
Yes.
Thank you, Dominic. That'll do beautifully. So, what do we do now?
I don't know. Extend our credit, I suppose.
I wonder how long that'll be possible. Have you read that?
What is it?
Look on page 4. Well?
Where did they get this?
Oh, how should I know?
It's lies. Damn filthy lies, all of it! Oh, God.
Don't, Edward.
I can't help it. It's you. It's the way you live, the way we live. Is it any wonder they publish stories like that when they see you in his company day after day?
That's ridiculous.
If we lived, if we behaved like any normal married couple, they'd have no grounds for their stories. Can't you see that?
We must fight them.
Oh, how can we? We'll have to do whatever he wants. You know that. Oh, Lily. My little Lily.
No, Edward.
I've missed you so much.
Don't, please.
May I not kiss my wife?
Go and get changed. We'll be horribly late.
Just one kiss.
Please don't be silly, Edward. Go and get changed, and don't drink any more before we go out. I'll wait for you downstairs.
I had to meet you. Since I saw you that day in the park, I've thought of no one else.
I'm very flattered, sir.
I'm serious, Mrs. Langtry.
I know.
If I tell you that you are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, I realize it is no more than others have said before me.
You're staying here at Marlborough House with the Prince and Princess of Wales, I believe.
I am. Do not try to put me off, Mrs. Langtry.
I don't think I could, sir, even if I wanted to.
You could not.
And perhaps it's as well that I do not want to.
My husband is furious. He's threatening to sue.
Well, you must stop him, my dear. That sort of thing is best kept out of the courts.
Well, I don't know if I'll be able to.
Oh, we'll get them to print a retraction. I'll get Lewis to speak to the man.
Why are you laughing?
At the daring of the man, having the nerve to take on the two most beautiful women in London.
That's very nice.
Doesn't Mrs. Langtry look lovely?
She does. And I believe Prince Louis thinks so too.
Yes. I wonder if that is a good idea.
Ma'am?
Throwing the two of them together. I know Bertie is all for it.
Prince Louis has broken a few hearts since he came to London.
Oh, he is handsome, isn't he? It is a pity her husband is such a dull man. And he drinks too, I believe.
They say he's slow-witted.
No. The royal yacht is called Osborne after the place, you see. She's birthed at Cowes.
Yes, of course. I know Cowes well. I've been there many times. We have a house at Southampton, you know.
I didn't know.
Yeah. You, serving in her, are you? Along with that chap dancing with my wife?
Prince Louis of Battenberg is one of my officers, yes.
You won't forget what I've said.
I won't forget.
Well, young man, enjoying yourself?
Yes, Uncle Bertie, very much indeed.
Good. I believe the next dance is mine, Mrs. Langtry.
Yeah.
Will you forgive me if we sit it out together? I had to stand all afternoon at the opening of a school of dramatics. Extraordinary place. I'm a bit stiff in consequence. Now, what's all this nonsense in the town talk?
You've seen it.
Langtry going to do anything?
I don't know.
Well, I'll get Louis onto the man. We'll soon put a stop to it. Don't you worry your pretty head about it. Now, somebody here who wants to meet you. Mrs. Langtry, I don't believe you've met. Mr. and Mrs. Gladstone, Mrs. Edward Langtry.
Mrs. Langtry, a great pleasure.
My dear, I'm so pleased to meet you.
May I sit with you for a moment?
I'd be delighted. But I don't want to keep you from the dancing. I think that might make me very unpopular.
She's lovely, sir. Perfectly lovely.
Thank you, William. I hope you will become her friend. I think perhaps you could help her. She has an adventurous spirit, and you're wise counsel.
I would advise you, Mr. Rosenberg, not to print any further material concerning the Langtry divorce.
I print only what I know to be true, Mr. Lewis.
On whose authority?
I cannot tell you that.
There is no truth in the divorce story.
No? Then how do you explain the Home Secretary's instructions to managers of music halls forbidding comics to make jokes about it?
What the government do is their business. I have come here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Langtry and certain other persons to tell you that the story is a lie, to demand that you print a retraction, and to warn you that if you persist in bringing the names of members of the royal family into disrepute, we shall see to it that you are closed down.
Can't do that.
I think we can, Mr. Rosenberg. However, I'm sure that there will be no need for such drastic action. Now, as one reasonable man to another.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Well, I won't read it all now, but it's one of my favorites, and suitable to the occasion, I fancy.
Thank you, Mr. Gladstone.
Will you accept this volume of the sonnets as a present? It would give me such pleasure.
Oh, I'd be honored. But you will write in it.
Of course. Your husband is in Ireland, I believe.
He has just returned. We have property there.
Not at the moment a very happy country, I'm afraid.
So Edward tells me. Oh, these wretched Fenians. Why are they causing so much trouble?
Well, it's a large question, my dear. There's much to be said on the side of the Irish. A measure of home rule might be the answer. But I'm becoming gloomy. I must leave you.
Oh, no, please.
I shouldn't like to outstay my welcome.
That would be impossible, Mr. Gladstone. It's wonderful of you to come and see me when I know you have so many calls on your time.
I've enjoyed it, my dear. If there's anything I can do for you, you know how to get in touch with me.
I don't know how to thank you.
Lily, I had to go. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you had Mr. Gladstone.
That's perfectly all right. I'm sure Mr. Gladstone will forgive you.
Of course, my dear. I was just leaving in any case. No, don't show me out. I think Mrs. Cornwallis West has something to tell you. I'll find my own way. Ladies.
Oh, what a lovely man. Have you added him to your list of conquests?
Don't be ridiculous, Patsy. He's 72.
I know, but wonderfully well preserved, they say. Now, look, the latest edition.
Now, is there a retraction? George
Oh,
Lewis
yes,
said
there's a retraction, all right, but just listen to what he says. I am now informed, on authority which I have no reason to doubt, that Mr. Langtry has withdrawn the petition which he had filed in the divorce court. The case of Langtry v. Langtry and others is therefore finally disposed of, and we've probably heard the last of it. I am told also that it is not unlikely that Mr. Langtry will shortly be appointed to some diplomatic post abroad. Now, listen, this is the important bit. It is not stated whether his beautiful consort will accompany him.
Oh, how dare he?
Yes, well, you see what people will think. By adding that bit at the end, he has implied that Edward has been forced to drop the whole thing because of possible scandal and will now be got out of the way while you remain here.
Edward isn't even in the diplomatic.
Well, of course, I know the whole thing's rubbish, but you see what he's done.
Look, we must fight him.
Well, of course we must. William is determined to sue for libel over that piece about me, and you must try to persuade Edward. Do you think that you can?
Oh, I can persuade Edward, all right. Poor Mr. Rosenberg. I feel almost sorry for him.
My client, Mr. Adolphus Rosenberg, is charged with maliciously publishing a defamatory libel, knowing it to be false. He admits publishing the articles in question, but he emphatically denies that he knew them to be false. Now, far be it from me to suppose that the Prince of Wales could, for a moment, depart from the morality which it is his duty to exhibit.
Mr. and Mrs. Langtry live in the best and highest society. They have for some time been honoured with the acquaintance, and I might say the friendship, of their Royal Highnesses the Prince and Princess of Wales, who have frequently visited them at their residence. The lady of whom this libel has been published is of great personal attractions and beauty. Hence it has been that the defendant, Rosenberg, and those who are associated with him, have thought fit, for the purpose of profit and for the sale of their vile publication, to make her the subject of obloquy and defamation. Mr. Langtry, you have heard the articles from Town Talk read into the records. Is there a single word of truth in them?
Not one single word.
Have you ever filed a suit for a divorce from your wife?
No.
Have you ever considered such a step?
Never. I've always lived on terms of affection with my wife.
And you are living with her still, are you not, at Norfolk Street in this city?
I am, and intend to continue so doing. I love my wife.
Thank you, Mr. Langtry.
He makes a good witness, doesn't he?
Oh, yes. Very satisfactory.
I notice Mrs. Langtry isn't in the court.
No, I believe she's gone to Paris for a few days with the Prince of Wales.
You will therefore go to prison, Rosenberg, for a period of 18 months. Take him down.
Evening. It's a cold night for you.
What do you want?
I want you, if you will, to come with me to my house.
I'm not cheap, you know.
I think, my dear, you've misunderstood me.
Oh, have I then? I know your sort. You look too old to do much harm, but once you get a girl back to your house...
Please, nobody is going to harm you. I want to talk to you about your profession, to help you, if I can. Will you come with me? My house is not far from here.
I'll cost you.
I'm happy to pay for your time. Well, let's do it.
Let's go, then.
Come in here, my dear. There's a fire. You must be cold. And I'll make you some soup. Would you like that? Sit down, won't you? Ah, here's William. I'll leave you two together.
How long have you been doing this?
Not long, sir. 6 months or so.
What's your name?
Jenny Collett.
And you work from a house, Jenny, or on your own?
I work for Mrs. Jeffries in Queen Street.
Where are your parents?
My mother's dead. My father keeps a public house in Sussex.
Why did you leave?
They don't want me. My stepmother, she's children of her own, see. They don't want me.
Do they know where you are? What you're doing?
No. I was in service for a while, but I got pregnant and they threw me out.
What happened to the baby?
I lost it.
I see. Couldn't you have gone back into service? Why have you chosen to go on the streets?
It's easy, isn't it? Easiest way to make money. Got to live, haven't I?
There we are. Now, my dear, you'll stay here tonight and have a good sleep, and then tomorrow Mr. Gladstone will arrange for you to go to one of our homes of mercy. If you don't want to stay in London, you could go to Windsor. I think Miss Collett would be happy with the Sisters of Cure. Don't you, William?
Well, Jenny, what about it?
How long are you staying here at Marlborough House?
I shall be here another fortnight, then I rejoin my ship for Cowes Week.
You must be looking forward to it.
On the contrary, I shall regret being away from London, away from you. Mrs. Langtry, I must tell you that I've fallen in love with you.
Please.
No, don't say anything. I would not for the world have told you, but something you said when we danced together made me think that perhaps... You must forgive me, I do not know how to express my feelings in fancy language. I love you. I think I've loved you since that first day I saw you in the park. I know this must sound...
Sir, stop, please.
Am I offending you?
No. It's just I don't know what to say. I'm not in a position to...
Oh, no, of course not. I quite understand. Only I must know if someday, sometime in the future, there could be any... Oh, Lily. My beautiful Lily. Is there any hope for me?
Sir. Your Serene Highness, I'm honored.
No, that's not what I want to hear you say.
How can I?
Do you love me? You have only to say no, and I will go away and never see you again.
I shouldn't like that.
Do you really mean it? Oh, my darling. My wonderful girl.
You mean there, In the garden?
Yes, I couldn't stop him.
And he told you he loved you?
Several times. Oh, my dear, whatever shall I do?
Well, what did you say to him?
I told him we'd have to be very careful.
Well, that was sensible at any rate. Oh, I shouldn't worry, my dear. He'll probably get over it.
You don't understand. I don't want him to get over it.
Oh, Lily, you don't mean...
Yes. I think I'm in love with him.
But you can't be.
Why not?
Well, what Bertie said.
Well, that's the odd thing. He seems to be throwing us together, almost as if he wanted it to happen.
Oh, well, if he's in favour of you and Louis having an affair, well, what on earth are you worried about?
My own feelings. I'm afraid what might happen. Oh, perhaps I ought not to see him for a while.
Oh, that won't be easy.
Why?
Because Louis is with Charlie Beresford on the Osborne, isn't he? And if you're coming to stay with us for Cowes Week, you're bound to see him practically every day.
I'm so sorry your husband could not be with us this year, Mrs. Langtry.
He sends his apologies, Ma'am.
Well, I am very impressed with Thunderer, Lord Beresford. She looks so clean and new.
Thanks to a coat of paint, Ma'am. I should like to show you the bridge.
Oh, can we see that later on? I think I should like to rest for a little while. Mrs. Cornwallis West, Mrs. Langtry?
Oh, yes, please. I'm feeling quite exhausted.
We ladies will go below then. Louis, will you show us the way?
Ma'am. Fritz, would you look after Mrs. Cornwallis West? Allow me, Ma'am. We've had some of the cabins fitted out specially.
I had no idea she was such a big ship. Lord Charles used to command her, didn't he?
He did. Your cabin, Mrs. Langtry.
Thank you, sir. Oh, isn't it lovely? Someone must have gone to a lot of trouble.
Oh, Lily.
Oh, Louis. Is it all right? What if someone comes in?
No one will come. I'm perfectly safe.
Oh, my darling. Won't Bertie be expecting you back?
Do you want me to go?
No. Not now. Not ever.
Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Oh, Louis.
Very fine, very fine. Now I'd like to go below. I could do with a drink.
This way, sir.
Where's Prince Louis of Battenberg gone to?
He was with you, wasn't he, Charlie?
Prince Louis is showing Mrs. Langtry to her cabin.
Ah, yes, of course.
Big ship, Francis. Perhaps I got lost.
I don't think so, sir, but they make it rather hot.
Hot? Hot, do you say?
Yes, sir. I'm afraid I played a small practical joke on His Serene Highness.
Well?
Tell us about it, Charlie.
Well, sir, you know all the cabins on the ship below the waterline are supplied with air by means of ventilation shafts?
You mean you pumped the air in?
Exactly so. Well, I'm afraid I've turned the air off. If His Serene Highness remains very long with Mrs. Langtry, I'm afraid they'll both get rather warm.
Is the door locked?
Yes. Don't worry.
They'll miss us.
Do you mind?
I suppose not. Oh, it's so hot in here.
Yes.
Why are there no portholes?
The cabins are below the waterline.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, darling. I think I'll have to get up. I'm finding it hard to breathe.
Yes, you're right. It's getting very stuffy in here. 1 minute. Good God.
What's the matter?
Well, I don't know, but it looks as if the air supply's been shut off.
What?
There's no air coming in.
But we'll suffocate.
Oh, no. Not for quite some time yet. But I think the pump...
Well, what are you going to do?
I'll get the wretched thing turned on. Oh, damn. What is it?
Oh, dear.
If some fool switched off the air supply... What are you laughing at?
You. Us. It's not exactly a romantic ending to the afternoon, is it?
No, I'm sorry, my darling.
Will you wait in here, please? I will tell la signora.
Thank you, Dominic.
Padre.
Why don't you sit down, William?
Well, I'm all right. It's a pleasant house, don't you think?
Yes. She could have been at the station to meet us.
Well, perhaps she didn't get my letter. In any case, please don't mention it unless she does.
Well, we shall see.
Oh, how lovely to see you. I'm so sorry I wasn't at the station to meet you. Oh, please sit down. Did you have a good crossing?
The sea was fairly calm, thank heaven.
You got my letter?
Yes, of course. Would you care for some tea?
Your father isn't feeling very well. Would you like some tea, William?
Thank you.
Would you like to lie down, Papa? Dominic can bring your tea into you.
Oh, that is a good idea.
I think if you will forgive me, I will rest for a little while.
Shall I send for a doctor?
No, it's nothing. A slight headache, no more. I shall feel better presently.
Dominic, can you show my father to Mr. Langtry's room and then bring some tea, please?
Will you be all right, William? Shall I come with you?
No, you stay here. Thank you, my dear.
Is he all right?
Oh, yes, it's just the journey and, well, in the circumstances...
Yes, what's happened? You said in your letter he's taken a living in Marylebone.
Yes, it's a small parish. It'll be less tiring for him. He's 65, you know.
But why? Why would he want to leave Jersey?
My dear, I don't know how to tell you. He's been dismissed.
Dismissed?
He'll be listed as dean until he dies, but he cannot go back to St. Helier.
But why?
I'm so ashamed.
Women. Oh, how could he be so stupid?
I don't think he realizes how people gossip.
Oh, Mother. Well, where will you stay until your house in Marylebone is ready? You can stay here for a few days. Papa can have Edward's room, but...
He's away, then?
Yes, yes. This house just isn't big enough.
No, of course not. We shall go to an hotel. You'll have to help me find one, somewhere inexpensive. What with the cost of the journey and... Well, we shall have to be careful for a little while.
Oh, Mother, I wish I could help, but everything's frightful here at the moment.
My dear?
Edward's virtually bankrupt. His tenants in Ireland can't or won't pay their rents. We're horribly in debt.
Lily, I didn't know.
Ah, thank you, Dominic.
Mr. Gladstone is here, Signora. He's waiting in the dining
Goodness,
room.
I'd forgotten he was coming.
Mr. Gladstone, the Prime Minister.
Yes, he often comes for tea. He won't stay very long. Will you ask him to come in, please, Dominic?
Oh, Lily, dear, I think I'd better go to your father. I expect Mr. Gladstone would rather take tea with you alone.
Oh, no, please, there's really no need.
All the same, I should feel easier, dear. Perhaps some other time.
Of course, if you wish.
Oh, and I think it might be better if we didn't tell your father we've spoken of that other matter.
No, of course not.
Oh, Lily.
Mr. Gladstone, Signora.
Mrs. Langtry. You are here at the request of your colleagues to deliver a warning.
I'm afraid I am.
Well, sir. Oh, sit down, sit down.
Oh, thank you.
Now, for your warning.
I don't quite know how to put this, Prime Minister.
Plainly, Lord Rosebery, plainly and simply.
Sir. Oh, please stop. Sir, your habit of walking about London at night talking to street women is causing considerable alarm to many of your ministers.
Yes, that is no more than I would expect.
Well, they feel that the gossip and the scandal...
Is there much of that?
Well, one of the Tory members, a Colonel Tottenham, is saying that he saw you last week as he was leaving the Athenaeum talking to a prostitute on the Duke of York's steps.
Last week?
Yes.
Yes. It may well be true that the gentleman saw me engaged in such conversation, but the object was not what he assumed, or, as I'm afraid, hoped.
But you must appreciate, sir, that if there is talk about such matters, it could harm the party.
Are you suggesting, Lord Rosebery, that I give up a good and necessary task because stupid people choose to misconstrue my intentions?
Well, sir, I do think...
I won't do it. They may think what they like. The work must be done. Besides, the walking is good for me. You wouldn't have me neglect my physical well-being because of idle and ill-informed gossip, would you?
No, sir. There is another matter.
Oh, what's that?
Your association with Mrs. Langtry. It is said that she writes to you using the private code sign.
Yes, I gave it to her.
Oh? Was that wise, I wonder, Prime Minister?
Oh, there's talk about that too, is there?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, the wickedness of human thought. Well, I will persuade Mrs. Langtry not to write to me so frequently, but I don't intend to be deprived of her company by a lot of prattling gentlemen who ought to have something better to talk about.
Yes, sir, but...
Come. I'll see you out.
Yes.
Yes, I've decided to get a job. I'm sorry, Frank, I'll have to move. I'm getting a crick in my ear.
No, just a little longer, please.
A job?
What sort of a job?
Are you serious, Mrs. Langtry?
What about Edward? Does he know of this?
Not yet. Still, he can hardly object since he's unable to support his wife. I'm sorry, Frank, I really will have to move.
We'll set you up in a flower shop and call it the Jersey Lily.
Well, no, a dress shop is a far better idea. Do you know, with your taste, you'd make a fortune.
I'd be very happy to give you sketching lessons. There's quite a market for that sort of thing, and with your name...
Oh, thank you. They're all wonderful suggestions.
They're all perfectly dreadful suggestions, and you know it. There's only one job for you, as I've told you before, and that is the theatre. You must go upon the stage. Thank you. I don't want to sit down. I will...
Thank you, Dominic. You know everyone, don't you, Edward?
Good evening. Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Langtry. I came to see my wife. The fellow's entitled to see his wife, isn't he? I don't want to interrupt anything. I'll just sit here. You just carry on. I've been in Southampton. Do you know Southampton, do? It's not a bad place. I had a house there once, by the sea.
Thank you. Lily, my dear, I really should be going.
Oh, you go.
Yes, of course. I'll see you tomorrow, Patsy.
Yes, I think I must be going too. Mr. Langtry. Mr. Langtry. Mrs. Langtry.
Bye, Lily. I'll call another day and finish the
Yes, do.
I long to stay. Promise to tell me everything.
I wasn't expecting you.
I had to come to London to see this fellow.
You didn't have to come here.
Why shouldn't I come here? It's my house,
You're
isn't
drunk.
it? My house and my wife.
Oh, Edward.
I want to talk to you. Where are you going?
I'm going to my room.
Stay here. I haven't
Edward,
finished
please.
yet. I want to talk to my wife!
Don't shout.
Ever since that damn trial. What is it that fellow made me say? Always lived on terms of affection? That's funny, isn't it? Terms of affection. Well, talk to me, damn you, say something!
How dare you speak to me like that? I have nothing to say to you. You barge in here drunk when I'm in the middle of entertaining, embarrassing me, embarrassing my friends. We agreed months ago that you should live away from London. It was your wish as much as mine.
Don't, Lily. Don't get angry. Can't we talk about this sensibly?
No. I'm going to my room, and don't try and follow me. It wouldn't do any good. Our marriage is dead, Edward. I sometimes wonder if it was ever alive. If you want any dinner, you'd better tell Dominic. I'm going out. Have we lost them?
I think so.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes. Lily,
No,
I haven't said anything.
you were going to.
I want you to marry me. Well?
Darling, please.
I will give up the Navy. We can live abroad. Don't you want to?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course I want to. But what about Edward?
Well, he will give you a divorce, surely.
I don't know.
Have you asked him?
No. Oh, darling, let's not talk about it yet. Not here, please. Come on, let's ride on. The others will wonder where we've got to.
Such a great honor to have your Royal Highness once again under my roof.
Delighted, my dear fellow, delighted.
If your Royal Highness would care for a game of cards.
Oh, no, that's most kind of you. No, I just wanted a word with my nephew here.
Something to drink, perhaps. May I send in some brandy?
Yes, good. Brandy, yes, good. Now, if you wouldn't mind...
Oh, no. I mean, yes, your Royal Highness.
Man behaves like a head waiter. Now, Louis, what's all this about you and Mrs. Langtry?
I have asked her to marry me.
Have you, by God?
I love her, Uncle Bertie. If she will have me, I intend to give up the Navy and we shall live abroad. It will be difficult, I know, but I don't care about anything as long as I can be with her.
I see. Tell me, what was Mrs. Langtry's answer to your proposal, man?
She hasn't given me an answer yet. I think she wants to talk to her husband first.
Yes, yes. That seems likely in the circumstances. Now, you listen to me, my boy. What you are intending is out of the question. You realize what it would mean? You have a great career in front of you. Mrs. Langtry is one of the ornaments of London society. Here, as things are, you have everything. You want to give it all up for the dubious delight of calling yourselves married?
I love her, Uncle Bertie.
Yes, of course you do. She's the most beautiful creature in London. Go on loving her. Enjoy yourselves. And for heaven's sake, let's not have any more talk about marriage. I forbid it, absolutely, do you hear? Ah, here's our brandy.
But you can't, Lily. It's utterly impossible.
I'm going to.
Oh, my dear, are you sure it's the right thing?
Well, probably not, but I can't help that. I love him.
Have you thought about the scandal? I mean, what will Bertie say?
Well, that'll have to be faced, but we'll be in France or somewhere by the time the people find out. Look, don't you see, if Louis and I go away together, Edward will be forced to divorce me. Then we can marry and live abroad. It's what Louis wants. It's what I want.
Are you sure, Lily? Are you really sure?
Yes, Mamma.
I don't believe Edward will agree to divorce you.
He must. If Louis and I are living openly in France, he'll have no alternative.
He can be strangely blind when he wants to be.
Scusatemi, Signora, the Prince of Wales is here. He wants to speak to you alone.
Alone?
Si, Signora, he's waiting in the dining room.
Yes, well, we'd better make ourselves scarce. Come along, Mrs. Libretto.
Thank you, Dominique. Can you clear away the tea things and then ask him, please?
Do you think it's about...
I don't know.
Good luck.
His Royal Highness, Signora.
Lily.
Sir.
My dear. Let's sit down, shall we? I missed you at the Freaks last night.
I was indisposed.
Oh, dear. I trust you are quite recovered today.
Yes, I am, thank you.
Good. You know why I've come to see you?
I think so.
It's out of the question, I'm afraid. Absolutely out of the question. I've spoken to Louis. He tells me he's fallen in love with you.
Yes.
I don't know what your feelings are for him.
I am very fond of him.
I see. You have not yet given him an answer to his proposal.
No.
When you do, I want you to refuse him. Well, there's no reason why you should not continue to see each other, but there must be no marriage. I cannot allow my nephew to jeopardize his career, his whole life in this country, for the sake of... Well, in order to marry you. I'm very sorry, but there it is.
It would cause a great scandal, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
And we must avoid a scandal at all costs.
I'm glad you understand.
Oh, yes, I understand.
You'll see. You're upset now, but it will soon pass, and I hope, my dear, you will let me cheer you up. Couldn't bear it if I thought I'd made you unhappy.
Good evening. May I speak to you for a moment? Jenny. It's Jenny College, isn't it? What are you doing here?
It's no good, is it?
I heard you'd left Clore.
I couldn't get on with that place. I'm better off here.
You didn't give it much of a chance, did you? You're only there a few weeks.
I was bored, see? Don't fit in a place like that.
There are other places. Perhaps we could find somewhere.
No.
Please, Jenny.
No. This is my sort of life. I even quite enjoy it sometimes.
I shall pray for you, my dear.
You can pray all you like. I tell you, it won't make no difference.
Good night.
What's so wrong with what I do anyway? There's plenty of ladies in society does the same.
When did I last wear this dress, Dominique?
Last week, Signora. The Duchess of Manchester.
Oh, it's a bit soon to be seen in it again, but it can't be helped.
It looks well on you, Lily.
Yes. I want to look my best tonight.
Will Louis Battenberg be there?
No.
I thought he was staying at Marlborough House.
He's left, gone back to Portsmouth. He's applied for active duty, I believe. There. I'm ready.
What is it, Lily?
Oh, dear.
Oh, my God, my son.
I suddenly felt faint for a moment.
Do you think you should go out?
I'm all right, Mother. Please don't fuss.
Oh, I wish Edward were here.
Oh, what use would he be? Don't look so sad, Mother. You know how it is, so don't pretend. Oh, dear. I can't rely on Edward anymore. From now on, I have to look after myself.
But, Mrs. Langtry, I had no idea you were planning to go in for a theatrical career. When did you decide on this?
Oh, nothing's decided. I'm thinking about it.
What a jolly idea. I think it sounds the most tremendous fun.
I think it may be very hard work.
Where will you go? What will you do?
I don't know. Irving's offered me a part in his new play at the Lyceum.
Has he indeed? Things are really moving then.
But I don't think I'm going to take it.
Hey, why on earth not? The part not good enough for you, is that it?
No, I'm greatly honoured by the offer, but I think it'd be the wrong way to start.
The wrong way? Irving's got the best actors in England at the Lyceum.
Exactly, sir. I think I'd like to try my wings in less celebrated company.
Mrs. Langtry seems to be the centre of attention tonight.
When is she not, my dear fellow?
What have you done about young Battenberg, or is that all over now?
I don't know. He suddenly applied to be put back on the active list, so it rather looks like it.
Well, whatever you decide, you know you can rely on our support.
And if you ever play in London, we'll come and see you, eh, my dear?
Of course we will.
Ah, what's that they're playing out there? It's a waltz, isn't it?
I believe so, sir.
Good, well, let's join them, shall we? Suppose I can't persuade you, my dear.
No, thank you, Bertie, but you go ahead.
Mrs. Langtry, may I have the honour?
Thank you, sir.
Lily.
Are you all right?
Sorry, I don't know what came over me.
Would you like to lie down?
No, I'll be all right in a minute.
You don't look at all well. I think you should go home. Margaret, would you have Mrs. Langtry's carriage sent round to the side entrance? Come with me, my dear. You can rest in my sitting room until your carriage arrives.
Sorry, I really don't want to.
Perfectly all right. I quite understand. But I think I shall send Lakin to see you. He is a good man and gentle. You will like him.
And I understand this evening was not the first occasion you felt faint, Mrs. Langtry.
No, once or twice last week.
Yes. Well, there's nothing to worry about. You're a remarkably healthy woman.
Good.
And don't worry if you feel faint or unwell from time to time. It's perfectly natural in your condition.
You mean?
Yes, Mrs. Langtry, you're going to have a baby. Come along now, you must have had some idea.
Well, yes, but I thought... Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Well, I'm sure your husband will be very pleased with you, eh, Mrs. Le Breton?
Are you all right, Lily? Can I get you anything?
No, thank you, Mamma. Perhaps you could show Dr. Laking out. And thank you for coming so promptly.
I was commanded, Mrs. Langtry. In any case, it's a great pleasure. I shall call again tomorrow. I think perhaps you should remain in bed until then.
Yes, of course. And thank you again. Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Langtry.